I'm Nic Harcourt, and we have a very special here-at-home conversation today. I haven't spoken to Britt Daniel from the band Spoon for, well, a whole bunch of years. We were just saying it's been a while. It's good to see your face. You're back in Austin. How are you feeling today?
I feel good today. It's beautiful in Austin today. Sun is shining. It's crisp outside.
Nice day.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see you. It's been a while.
It has been. It's a very chilly 68 degrees outside my house here in Woodland Hills in California. I don't know. I'm freezing. I've got a hat on. So
poor you.
We're so lame. I know. Talking of Austin, the new album. Obviously, I know you've been talking about this for a little while now. We got the first single back last year, but it's the band's 10th album, Lucifer On The Sofa. And it's the first one that you've recorded back in Austin for a decade, I do believe. When did you start the process of working on this one? Because I know the last full length, I think, was 4 years ago, and then there was kind of like a compilation in between. When did work start on the new record?
2019 started a little bit before our summer tour, and then but really in earnest after that summer tour. That's when I moved back to Austin, and Alex, who's from California, moved to Austin. And of course, Jim and Gerardo are already here. So yeah, that was the plan. Come to Austin, and instead of doing it in isolation, like we did the last couple of them, when I say isolation, I mean, because Dave Fridman's studio is out in the middle of the sticks of upstate New York. We do it in Austin where we could, go have a drink or go see a show and then bring that energy to writing and just have a big social experience with it.
I would imagine, obviously, you started in 2019 and going out to shows and seeing what was going on. That all sort of came to an abrupt halt a couple of years ago, obviously, with the pandemic. How was that?
It was a great
impacted?
plan for a few months, yeah.
How has that impacted, first of all, the writing and then following up with the recording?
Well, all of a sudden we couldn't see each other, and we actually thought we were pretty close to done with the record on March 12th of 2020. But then, we had a lot of time apart. I had a lot of time alone. And the thing that made me feel most normal was getting lost in working on songs. And so I wrote a lot of them, and I suddenly realized we got to record these songs. And so we're not nearly done with the record. It just took forever to be able to see these guys again. It wasn't until September or October. And then we finally recorded those new songs and then finally put the record to bed. But it took so much longer than it needed to.
Did the pandemic and being alone have any kind of impact on the songs that you were writing?
One of them. I mean, some of them are just because I had time to write them. But there's like one song that's a bit. I don't think that the mood and the lyrics would have happened anytime other than April 2020, and that song was the title track, "Lucifer On The Sofa."
I'm reading on your website where you say it's the band's purest rock and roll record to date.
Oh, is that what it said?
Well, somebody wrote it.
Somebody else quoted that, and I was like, did I say that?
Can you explain it?
I guess I did. Huh?
Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, now I got to defend it. I can't remember saying it, but it is a pure rock and roll. Where was it on our website?
It
or
is.
Our bio or something.
It's on your website.
Holy moly! All right. Well, I'll go with that. It's a pure rock and roll record. We decided ahead of time that there weren't enough great rock and roll records being made these days. And that's what we wanted to do. And I remember talking about it specifically to the band and what that meant, in terms of the vibe and the instrumentations that you use and the tempo of the songs and the feel of the songs and largely about the way that you get the songs ready to record. The last album, we did a lot of that thing where you're writing the songs as you're recording them in the studio, which is a cool way to make a record. It ends up being very produced.
Right.
And this one, we wanted to do a lot of that hashing out of what the song is and figure out the best tempos and the best arrangements and the best parts, do it in a room as a band, and then hit the record button. I think you end up with a different type of record that way.
Is that more of getting the whole band together in one space and just recording it live? Is that what you do? Put the basic tracks down live?
Sometimes, yeah. Definitely a bunch of them. But even if we weren't recording live, we tried to record live wherever we could. And then even if we didn't record live, we were hashing the songs out as a band and doing that thing that just, when I wasn't able to see these guys for 4 or 5 months, it made me realize why I'm in a band, because I can do parts of it on my own very well, but there's something about the chemistry when you get together with people, that things happen that feed on top of each other that will never happen just by yourself. And if you're doing it right, it just exponentially gets better and better, the song, when you're working with other people. That's what I missed.
I'm always leery to throw quotes at people, and now you understand why. I figured I'd be safe if it was on your website, but I got another one that's not on the website that kind of ties into what we were just talking about. I think this is off Pitchfork, where you are quoted as saying, describing the album as the sound of classic rock as written by a guy who never did get Eric Clapton. Is that yours?
Yeah, that guy is me.
Yeah. Can you give Phil?
Yeah, it's very simple. I just never liked Eric Clapton's songs or his singing. And when I grew up, when I was a kid, I was, I grew up in Temple, Texas, and my way of learning about what was going on in music was the ways were limited. But one of them was to read Rolling Stone every 2 weeks when it came out. And it felt like the Eric Clapton update, like every 2 weeks I got to hear Eric Clapton is pouring himself a cup of tea, and he's making another record, and now he's making another video, and now he's going to the pub. It's just like it was nonstop. So when I think of the term classic rock, sometimes I think of the parts that are cliche or generic. And listen, some people love Eric Clapton. I've got friends who love slow hand, but it's just not my thing. And so that's all I meant by the quote.
Yeah. Well, for what it's worth, it's not mine either. And I'm happy to say that. When you come from a world of indie rock, and 30 years later now it's kind of back, and you're making what you consider to be a classic rock album, or your version of a classic rock album, how do those two things sort of fit together?
Well, I don't know. I didn't know that it was back, but I'm glad to hear it is. What I remember is telling a few people we're going straight down the barrel of making a great rock and roll record, and then thinking to myself, I don't know if that makes any economic sense. I don't know if people want to hear a rock and roll record, but that's the kind of record I want to make. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that the timing's right for it. I mean, you would know better than me.
What are the economics of being in a band today? I mean, obviously you haven't been able to tour for a couple of years. You've got a new album coming out. We've had some false starts on bands being able to get out on the road and then having to stop again. Right. How has that impacted your ability to make a living?
Well, yeah, I mean, most bands, even quite big bands, were kind of kneecapped in terms of their income as soon as streaming came along, and you make a little bit of money, but it does not make up for, in any way, what you used to be able to make by recording songs, writing and recording songs. Now it seems like the money is it's all about live. And that's good too, because I love playing. Lucky for me, I love playing live. But yeah, then the pandemic shuts that down, and you're really, it's a bit of a mess, right? Hasn't been a lot of opportunities for income the last couple of years.
Have you been able to do any shows in town, in Austin?
We did one on July 1st. We were going to play one on New Year's Eve, but it got canceled because so many people got sick. We had no show. But July 1st, it's funny. There was, that was that one moment where everything felt like it was the world was righting itself, and
for a week.
That show, there were no masks and nobody, and it felt very normal. That didn't feel unsafe at all. It was just kind of like the world was all right for a second there, and then it turned back around.
Yeah, I do remember taking the mask off for a week, and then they said, no, put it back on. Right. Yeah. I think we're going to get back there. I think the things are going to calm down here to a great degree over the next couple months. Have you been able to do any traveling yourself over the last year or so?
Not too much. I just went to Mexico City and did promo last week, which was, that felt, I definitely felt like I was in a different world then. It was awesome. It was so great. Yeah. But more than that, my girlfriend and I did a lot of trips by car, driving from Texas to California and back, or driving to Memphis, driving to New Orleans. But not too far. How about you?
Not for the first year, I don't think, but in the last 9 months or so, I've traveled 3 or 4 times for work and family reasons. And, I don't know, you hope for the best, I guess. You get the vaccinations, you mask up and hope for the best. I just traveled across the country last week to go see my son in Philadelphia. And I really thought about it. Should I not? And then it was a calculated risk at the end of the day. And I was worried I was going to bring something back. I have a girlfriend as well. Last thing I want to do is bring something home. But I don't know. I'm with you. I think we are beginning to see things beginning to drop off again, at least with this latest strain. And so with that in mind, do you have a tour planned? Because usually the cycle is make record, go out and tour, right? Right. Yeah. The yin and the yang. We're supposed to, we just announced a bunch of shows for April and May. And then we got one in Santa Ana in a couple weeks. But most of the touring, April, May. So touring coming up, obviously, in the spring. Festivals, is that on the agenda for this year? Yeah, we got a couple of those. We're playing Bottle Rock. Have you ever been to that one? I haven't been there, but I have not, no. And then we're playing Shaky Knees. I think there are a couple more, but we're playing a festival in Memphis. I can't remember them all. Yeah. But I would imagine you're chomping at the bit to get back out, though, right? I mean, I love doing shows. It's one of my favorite things in the world. So, right. I am. Well, listen, Britt, it's been great catching up with you. I did want to ask you just before we go, how's it been moving back home after a while away? Because I know you were in Portland for a while. How's it back in Texas? Well, I do love being back in Texas. Weird things about Texas, but a lot of great things. And even though Austin has changed quite a bit over the last, 15 years since I left, it's still got a certain degree of funk to it. And the thing that's the best that hasn't changed is it's still very much a live music town. And I've loved being able to get back into that situation where there's a great show going on every night, or maybe 5. I got to think that Austin has probably got about double the population since you left, right? Yeah, something like that. Really grown so much. The new album is coming out February 11th, and it's called Lucifer On The Sofa. It's been great catching up with Britt Daniel here on 88.5 for our Live at Home series. Good to see you, mate, and I hope to see you in a club or in a field somewhere soon. I hope so. Good to see you too. Cheers, mate. Cheers.
88.5 FM, KCSN, and KCSN HD1 Northridge, Los Angeles. KSBR and KSBR HD1 Mission Viejo. A service of California State University Northridge and Saddleback College. Member-supported public radio. Streaming on the web at 885fm.org.